Everyone was laughing at him. Not behind closed doors, not in hushed voices, but out loud, in broad daylight, in front of the crowd. Who invited the kid with the busted Civic? Man, that car's probably running on AA batteries. The jeers kept coming, louder and bolder, as he slowly rolled up to the line of chromed-out muscle cars and high-end builds. Shiny hoods propped open, engines gleaming like polished gold, owners in designer shades and brand-name gear. This wasn't a place for beginners, and definitely not for a 17-year-old wearing worn-out sneakers and oil-stained overalls. Except they didn't know what they were looking at. They didn't know who they were looking at, because this wasn't just some kid who'd wandered into the wrong car show. This was Jalen Carter, and Jalen had built that car with his own hands. Every bolt, every gasket, every wire, every line of code in the tuning software. And it wasn't just a car. It was a beast, a turbocharged, precision-balanced, street-legal rocket that he'd crafted over 3 years in a borrowed garage. And it was about to make every single one of them eat their words. Let me take you back to how it all started. Jalen grew up in the heart of Detroit. Not the glossy motor city they show on car commercials, but the parts where engines are rebuilt in backyards and scrap yards hold more promise than parks. His dad was a mechanic, but after an accident on the job, he could barely walk without a cane. Money was tight, real tight. But Jalen, he had a mind like a machine and hands that never stopped moving. By the time he was 13, he'd rebuilt 2 lawnmower engines just to race homemade go-karts down alleyways. At 14, he was piecing together an old Honda engine from spare parts in junkyards. By 16, he had saved enough from working weekends at an auto salvage yard to buy the rusted shell of a 1998 Honda Civic Coupe. The thing barely ran. Paint was flaking, seats torn, no exhaust, no suspension. But Jalen didn't see junk. He saw potential. He worked every night after school, stripped it to the frame, built a turbo system from a junkyard Saab, tuned it using open-source software and a busted laptop with half the screen missing. He studied wiring diagrams like they were sacred texts, fabricated a custom manifold using scrap pipes. It was genius-level engineering on a budget that wouldn't cover dinner at half the places those car show guys ate. But Jalen didn't care about fancy. He cared about fast. And fast was exactly what he got. By the time the car was ready, it was pushing 450 horsepower on pump gas. It was tuned so tight it could hang with cars worth 10 times its value. But it still looked, well, like an old Civic, because Jalen didn't bother with a paint job, or fancy rims, or expensive body kits. He left the dents, the primer patches, the mismatched fender. Why? Because he wanted people to laugh, to underestimate him. So when the downtown SummerSlam car show announced an open category for local builds with cash prizes, Jalen didn't hesitate. He registered online, paid the entry fee from a worn-out debit card, showed up with his car on a flatbed towed by his uncle's landscaping truck. And that's when the laughing started. You gonna race that thing? Bro, I've seen shopping carts with more style. Jalen didn't flinch. He unloaded the car, checked tire pressures, ran diagnostics on his laptop, made a few final adjustments to his air-fuel ratio, stayed calm, focused, because while everyone else was busy posing with their chrome and carbon fiber, Jalen was prepping a machine. He didn't come for approval. He came to win. When the announcer called for the first round of time trials, Jalen rolled up to the line. His Civic coughed once, then purred, a deep, controlled rumble that made a few heads turn. The track was a closed-off stretch of industrial road, quarter-mile sprints, timed runs, electronic sensors, no gimmicks. First up was a Dodge Challenger SRT8, supercharged, built like a tank. It screamed off the line and crossed in 12.4 seconds. The crowd roared. Then a BMW M3, tuned, slicks, ran 12.1 seconds. Jalen's turn. He pulled forward. No music, no revving, just quiet intensity. One of the event organizers leaned in, smirking. Hey kid, sure you don't want to back out? Don't want to embarrass yourself? Jalen just nodded. The lights flashed. Green. And the Civic exploded off the line. No tire spin. No lag. Just clean, Surgical acceleration. The crowd barely processed what they were seeing until he flew past the sensor. The Civic's blow-off valve hissing like a serpent. The scoreboard lit up. 10.8 seconds. Silence. Then chaos. What? Was that real? That can't be right. The judges triple-checked the timing system. It was legit. Jalen had just smoked every car in the round, including $80,000, builds with pro sponsorships. One guy tried to claim he was cheating. Another said the car must have nitrous. Someone demanded an inspection. Jalen agreed. No hesitation. They popped the hood, saw the custom turbo setup, hand-fabricated intercooler piping, ECU hacked and tuned perfectly. It wasn't luck. It was skill. A crowd gathered around him now, not to laugh, but to learn. Dozens of people suddenly wanted to know his setup, his tuning specs, his story. Jalen didn't brag. He explained, patiently, like a teacher, like someone who knew his value. By the end of the show, he not only won first place in his category, but the judges created a special award on the spot, Best Overall Build. They'd never seen someone so young, so skilled, and so humble walk in and completely redefine the competition. Jalen gave a short speech when he took the mic. I didn't build this car to impress anybody. I built it because I love it. Because I wanted to prove that it's not what you look like or where you come from. It's how hard you work. It's what you put under the hood. Thunderous applause. Even the guys who'd mocked him earlier came over to shake his hand. One offered him a sponsorship. Another said, "Teach me how you did it." That night, Jalen drove home. Headlights barely working, body panels rattling, grinning like he just touched the moon. But his story didn't end there. The video of his run went viral on social media. Gearheads couldn't believe it. Forums lit up with debates. Who is this kid from Detroit? What's in that Civic? Why haven't we heard of him before? Within a week, Jalen had messages from 3 auto magazines asking for interviews. A YouTube channel invited him to collaborate. A tech school offered him a scholarship. A small performance shop mailed him a set of forged pistons, no charge. And it kept going. Jalen started posting videos. How TOS. Breakdowns of his build. Honest advice. Real engineering. No flexing, just pure knowledge. Within a few months, he had 200,000 subscribers. Young kids from all over the world wrote to him. You made me believe I could do it too. I'm 15, and I'm building my first car because of you. Thank you for being the kind of car guy that doesn't care what you wear or what you drive. Jalen started doing live Q&As, helping other teens get started in tuning. He never sold out, never stopped being that same quiet kid in greasy sneakers. And every time someone asked him what the secret was, he'd say, let them laugh. Let them doubt you. That just means they have no idea who you really are. If this story moved you, hit that like button. It helps get stories like Jalen's out to more people who need to hear them. And don't forget to subscribe for more real, powerful stories about grit, passion, and people who defy expectations. Drop a comment below. What's your passion? Ever been underestimated and proved people wrong? We want to hear your story too. Because this channel isn't just about storytelling. It's about showing the world what happens when doubt meets determination and loses.